now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hey everybody, welcome to RBLR Rays. It's me, Ben. I'm back finally. Had a bit of a vacation, but also not really last week. With me is Zach, and Eureka's hiding in the background there on mute. So how's it going, Zach?
Oh, it's going good, bud. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. I just couldn't breathe or whatever, and then that wasn't letting me talk super well. So asthma's not too fun, but I'm good. Finally alive, I guess. So I'm ready to go. Well, I really liked last week's episode. That was cool. That was a good one.
Well, we appreciate it. I was gonna say before you started off, we didn't get to find out how your Thanksgiving was, man.
Oh, it was good. I went to go see my parents and ate way too much. And I always do that. I'll binge eat on Thanksgiving. And I'm like, why did I do that? I'm not gonna do that next year. And then I just do it again. So I have a lot of self-control, obviously.
Instantly regretted your decisions.
Yep, and then I just do it all over again. I'll probably do it for Christmas too. Why not? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyways, we had a pretty crazy week with all the signings and the lockout stuff, and just a lot going on. Any big things you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I mean, the first one for me, the Corey Kluber signing. I know that you've been a huge advocate for it, and I think you're exactly right. And give a little shout out to your Twitter, but you nailed on the head when you said that he's like the Nelson signing for us as far as our pitching staff.
Exactly, the way Nelson Cruz helped, Wander Franco, Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, even Brandon Lau. He's still pretty young. That's the way Kluber is going to help out this pitching staff. And I mean, they're going to be fine developmentally. They have the coaches, they have Snyder, they've got everything they need to be successful. But I think Kluber is just going to kind of enhance and streamline that development the same way Nelson Cruz did to some of the hitters. So I think that, I mean, it's $8 million guaranteed with and up to $13 million with incentives. But I think that's probably a $20 million signing, in my opinion. The amount of impact he's going to have, and if he stays healthy and reaches all of his incentives, I think he's going to perform pretty well for this team. I don't think he's going to be the best pitcher, but I think he's going to be consistent and dependable, and that's what the Rays were looking for with their incentives in his contract, because they're not innings-based, they're starts-based. So if he hits a certain number of starts each, every 10 starts, he gets an extra $500,000 or something like that. So if that's what they want. They want consistency, so they made the incentives based on, starts rather than innings, because, he's probably going to go 3, 4, maybe 5 innings a start, but they're expecting 30 starts out of him, so should be interesting. But what was your reaction to that deal?
Yeah, no, it was exciting to see someone who is a big name. I know that he's been not super healthy the last couple of years, but I remember when New York got him, it was a big deal.
It's a great signing.
Yeah, it's just nice to see a big name player, or someone who used to be a big name. And I say he was hurt, but he still threw a no-hitter last year. So right. if he could stay healthy and we could get 5-6 innings out of him, most of his starts, I think that's one of those big signings that I talked about previously that will help our team a lot.
Definitely, and you made a good point by getting a big name, even if he is an older big name and he's not at the peak of his career anymore. I think we're gonna start seeing that happen a lot more with the Rays, kind of the way they do in basketball, where it's the guys want to win a championship when they're getting old, so they'll happily take a smaller role on a team that has a higher chance of winning a championship. Because he probably could have signed with Baltimore and been their ace and probably made a lot more money. But he's willing to take less money, smaller role, because, the Rays are going to be World Series favorites, I think, this season and for many years to come. So good for him. I just hope he throws his curveball a bit more, because that is a really good pitch. So looking forward to him pitching in a Rays uniform.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. That's one of the signings that really the only signing so far that I was very excited for.
You weren't excited for the Brooks Rally signing? Not that one's a bit under the radar, but it's good.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very good for our bullpen. We needed more people in the bullpen, especially with some of the people that we let go. And I just, if I'm not mistaken, he's got a 5 point. I don't want to be way off, but he's rocking a 5+ ERA. It's nothing crazy.
Yes.
Nothing, not bad, just not anything crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty bad against right-handed pitching. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
His career FIP against righties is 5.96, but against lefties it's 1.94. So if he can literally just like get his right-handed FIP like below a 4 even, which wouldn't be that crazy, like he would be, in my opinion, honestly, a top 15 reliever in baseball because his slider is insane. It has 108% more break than the average slider, and his curve has 83% more break than the average curve, and those are both horizontal break. So literally just only throw sliders to lefties, curveballs to righties, and he'll be fine because his numbers on those pitches are insane. And he's already in the 100th percentile in average exit velocity against and hard hit rate. So like just do what Matt Whistler does and just throw like the same pitch every time, and it'll probably work out because those pitches are really good, and he's gonna be, you know, worth more than his $5 million a year this season. I think he's gonna be pretty good. I'm excited.
And if the great Ben Whitelaw is excited, then you know what, I am now excited. I am.
I mean, I'm
board.
just thinking of like how Kyle Snyder probably feels about this. It's like you have a guy who throws a slider and gets soft contact literally better than anybody else in baseball. Like he just hasn't like figured out how to hone in on that yet. And usually, you know, with an organization like the Astros, like they're pretty analytically driven. You'd think he'd figure it out there, but I think the key for him is going to be just throw the slider more. Like he was trying to do too much, like, oh, he's got a cutter, he's got a change, he's got a sinker, whatever. No, just throw the slider. Just throw that. Nobody can hit it anyways. Even if they know it's coming, they're not going to hit it. So and that's pretty much it. He's got incredible numbers on those on the curve, a little bit on the curve, but mostly the slider. So I think he can be really effective. So I think those were like the two signings they had, though, right?
Yeah, those are the only two signings. Well,
Okay.
they re-signed G-Man Choi, but
right,
those are the
true.
only new incoming free agents.
Right. So yeah, I saw Choi. He was playing in a charity game, I think, last night, and he was switch hitting, which probably means nothing. But given his history, who knows what we're gonna see from him this season. I wouldn't put it past him, but I highly doubt that he's gonna hit from the right side of the plate this year.
Yeah, if he does, I'll give my first child away.
Okay.
I just not really. Don't mark that down. I lied. I love my kids.
We're not cutting this out. We're leaving this in. We're not. No, don't edit it out, Eureka. Leave it in. Just so we have proof.
But yeah. So the G-Man, I don't ever know what to expect with him. He was one of those guys that I expected to not be here this year.
Yeah.
So to see him sign an extension with us, even though it's only 1 year, I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm happy to have him because, you know, he's a good teammate. He's okay defensively. He's not good. He was slightly above average offensively last season, but hopefully he can, you know, stay healthy, get more consistent playing time, even though the Rays, you know, do the platoon thing. I think the Rays are kind of expecting their AAA first baseman, Dalton Kelly, to be selected in the Rule 5 draft. So maybe that's why they extended Choi one more year. But I think with some of the minor league options, especially what they have in AA, they got a couple guys over these past couple years that can really hit the ball. I think we'll have a new first baseman in 2023, maybe halfway through the season if Austin Meadows moves to first or Brandon Lau. I don't really know. But having Choi extended for like a little over $3 million isn't the worst thing for this team, so it's a good deal. But like you said, I expected him to be gone. So
yeah, I mean, and I think you nailed it right on the head. It gives us a stability at first base, even if it's not the greatest option. And I'm not hating on Choi. I love Choi, but that was one of the things that I felt we needed was a more consistent first baseman.
Right.
But in all honesty, it does give us that security blanket over there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not going to get much worse than like league average offense from him against right-handed pitching. So he's got a pretty high floor, but I think the ceiling isn't what it used to be. But that's okay. He's here to platoon and be a good guy in the clubhouse. So I think 3.2 million or whatever seems worth it for him.
Yeah, and I would second that. It's not like we overpaid or anything, so I'm happy with it.
Right. But if they do end up like trading him or something during the season, I would be like a little bit emotionally upset because I like him as a player, but I don't think it would hurt the team if they decided to move on anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that.
A couple other moves they made some trades, which was pretty exciting. A lot of chaos surrounding that the day before the lockout where everybody's getting moved around. But one of them, I don't know if you guys talked about it last time. I don't remember the exact day that it happened, but they traded Jordan Luplow, which was interesting because I did not expect that at all after they got rid of Mike Brasso.
So we did not talk about that one because I believe it happened right after the show.
Okay.
The only one that we've talked about so far was Brasso. Yeah, I was speechless at that one. I was a little hurt. I was excited for him. I know that you and I had talked about him playing a bigger role this season coming up, and I did not expect that role to be on another team.
I mean, like, he's got the versatility to play first and the outfield. He kills lefties. Like, he was ready for that, the platoon role that he was going to probably have with Ji-Man Choi. But I trust the Rays front office, but I think this just shows, and even Eric Neander said it, like, they're in the market for a right-handed bat. So they're looking to upgrade even more from Jordan Luplow, which would be, pretty cool because he was already, like, a top 10 hitter against left-handed pitching for, like, his career. So it looks like they might try to make a big splash. I don't really know who they're going to get, but it's interesting. I know there are a couple of trade candidates, or actually just one trade candidate I have that we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, I like the guy that they got in return. He's a undersized switch hitter plus speed, really good bat-to-ball skills. And I know I've mentioned this before, but the book, The MVP Machine, really great book. It's like Travis Sawchik, I believe, and then I forgot the other guy's name. But basically, like, hitting is a skill, like power hitting is a skill that can be taught more than we think. So, prioritizing guys with, like, elite hand-eye coordination and good, bat-to-ball skills and even speed, because you can't really teach speed that much. Those things are kind of valuable because we could teach this, 5'9" switch-hitting middle infielder to be a power hitter, but you can't teach him to have better eyesight or have, like, faster legs. So I think this is going to end up paying off long-term because this guy seems to have, like, all the intangibles and the work ethic, but Ronnie Simon is the guy's name, and I think we might hear about him within the next, like, 2, maybe 3 years. He might be pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, my first reaction to who we got in return was, another infielder.
I mean, they like athletes.
Tampa is just so loaded in the minors with infielders, and it didn't make any sense. And then I know that I had texted the group chat, and you had brought up, basically just traded for a roster spot.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was.
So it made sense after talking to you guys, but when I first saw it, I was just like, another infielder? We just signed the best infielder in the game, future best infielder in the game.
No, that's true. He's on his way.
So,
right.
That's the part that confused me the most, other than it being Luplow who got traded. But
yeah,
it's that time of the year with Tampa that you never know what to expect.
No, that's true. And with signing all these middle infielders, like, I don't think they're signing, like, shortstops and second basemen. They're signing guys who are athletic, they're good hitters, they can, learn to play multiple positions. Like, if you can play shortstop, you can probably play third base. If you can play third base, you could probably play second base. If you're athletic enough playing shortstop, you could probably play in the corner outfield spots. So, signing these young guys who are just good baseball players, and just getting as many good baseball players in their system as possible, regardless of position. Let them figure it out later. I like that approach, but it feels like it's a bit, it's a little scary because you don't know who's going to pan out and who won't, but the Rays do this all the time and they're really good at it. So I feel comfortable with them doing this stuff. But yeah, it's weird because they have like 7,000 middle infielders like on their AAA roster, so they gotta figure that out and see who's gonna play where.
Yeah, and another thing to think about is Tampa. I think Tampa hits more times than they miss on any kind of trades for prospects.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So in the long run, I'm sure this is gonna pay off for us tenfold. But I'm having a hard time seeing how it helps us, I guess, currently, aside from giving us the roster spot for Brooks Raley, however you say his last name.
Right, no, I mean, that makes sense. That's fair. And it really, I won't be satisfied until they finish signing a right-handed bat or, like, acquiring a right-handed bat, because that's what they lost in Luplow. So they kind of have to either upgrade or, at least get someone of similar value and production. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it kind of sucks because I really liked his grand slam off of Chris Sale, but
yeah,
whatever.
It is what it is. Can't have it all.
No. Another guy that ended up leaving the Rays, Lewis Head. He went to the Marlins, player to be named later. Good for him. He deserves a chance to not get called up and down like 15 times in a season. He deserves some stability. He's a good player. So sucks to lose him, though. I liked him.
Yeah, that was that one kind of went under the radar for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
he was one of those guys that, and I know we talked about it on our award show. If you haven't listened, go listen. But we talked about that on the award show, and he did whatever it took for the team whatever the team needed. He was there.
Yeah.
You need me to start, I'll start. You need me to travel up and down to AAA, to the majors 15 times in the season, I'll do it. So,
he did do that, yeah.
Yeah, he was just one of those guys that I felt like was another good team player. And I'm glad that he's going to Miami to be able to maybe get a more consistent role.
Yeah, and he deserves it. He was pretty good, so hopefully he'll find that in Miami. With another now former Rays player that ended up in Miami too.
Mr. Joey Wendell. That one hurt the most.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, he was a Ray. Like, that was the type of player they had for so long, like that post 2010 era. Like, I don't know. I mean, the team is definitely moving in a slightly different direction. They still value versatility, but moving on from Wendell, giving him a chance to play every day in Miami, it's good for him. He's got a good opportunity ahead of himself. And they sold high because he was probably not going to be an all-star again. So I think they got the most value out of him while they still could.
Yeah, I would agree with you that he's probably not going to be an all-star again. Unless he blows up with Miami. But like you said, he was just that ideal, typical Ray player. Like, he was a Ray. And it was nice to see him come out there, no gloves on, just old school baseball. And it's definitely going to be missed.
No, it will be. And the team, he was a great clubhouse guy. Like, everybody liked him, apparently, from what it seemed. But Vidal Brujan, Taylor Walls, and other minor league infielders that are ready to come up and make their chance for a roster spot. So,
lie down, Bubba. Daddy's doing his show, okay?
Yeah, it sounds like everybody's a little upset about Wendell leaving,
yeah.
but
Everett's
it is what it
hurt.
is.
Everett's hurt that Wendell left. All right.
Well, just let him know who Cameron Missner is, and that he's a pretty good left-handed outfield corner prospect. So, very good defender, plus speed. He's never posted a weighted runs created plus below 114 in his career, so he's always been above average as a hitter. And he still hasn't figured out his swing yet, which is really interesting. He kind of looks lost when he's swinging the bat, but he's still a good hitter because he has such good bat speed and hand-eye coordination. So once the Rays get him, or if they can get him to figure out his swing, he could be like a 30-30 type candidate, like 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. So he's still young enough to figure it out, but it's a pretty high ceiling prospect that they got in return for Wendell. And I think he's already like, in the Rays top 30, he's like the 22nd best prospect they have. So they got a pretty good piece for Wendell.
I know, if I'm not mistaken, he was 21 ranked with Miami. So I'd imagine he was probably pretty decent with us too.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays, system is so loaded, so for him to slide into the top 30 like that is pretty, I mean, top 22, I guess, because he was the 22nd best in the Rays system now. That's pretty impressive, and he's a five-tool player. He does everything. He just doesn't know what his swing is yet, so once they figure that out, it could be pretty interesting, because he's an athlete, and he does it all. He's a big guy, too.
Yeah, that one, the return with Wendell was more exciting to me than the Luplow return, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, Wendell, he probably got more value than Luplow because Wendell was the all-star. He was, almost an everyday player. He was kind of, platooning, but yeah, it's going to be cool to see how this guy pans out, and he is Rule 5 eligible next year, so the Rays are going to have to make some swing adjustments and some decisions on him and a couple other guys really, really soon within the next, calendar year.
Yeah, and I think a part that's being not really missed, because you brought it up, but not talked about enough, is this is going to give, Taylor Walls and Brujan more playing time in the majors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are guys that could end up being like all-stars every season and not just like a one-off thing because a couple other guys got injured, like Joey Wendell. Like, no offense to him, but like Brujan could be like, by the time his career is done, like a 10-time all-star kind of guy. And I don't know about Taylor Walls. He's more of a glove-first kind of guy, but I'm just excited that more young guys are going to get an opportunity at the big league level.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm all in. I know seeing Joey Wendell go kind of hurt like my heart a little bit, but I'm all in with what they're doing at this point. If we can get a right-handed bat.
Yes, absolutely. They need to get a right-handed bat. Absolutely. That's definitely a big thing that they need to go out and do. And it seems like they almost did it with the Phillies. I know, like right before the lockout, there were a lot of talks about the Phillies being interested in Kevin Kiermaier, which was cool, I guess, because I wouldn't be too upset if he left. But looking at his WAR numbers and his career stuff, like he's kind of on like, just because of his defense, like his defense carries him, but he's like fringe Hall of Fame type level right now with the pace that he's on, which is interesting because you don't think of KK as a Hall of Famer, but his defense, he's one of the best defenders in baseball ever. If he could hit like slightly above average, he would probably be in the Hall of Fame in like 8-9 years possibly, which is weird to think about.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, no, I agree. It's the weirdest thing because I saw something resembling that. It wasn't that in detail, but the fact that he literally, you're right on. It's exactly right. He's one of the best defensive players ever, defensive outfielders ever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, just to think that if he could find a bat, he'd almost be a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. Like that's wild to me that all that's holding him back is his ability to perform better at the plate.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to continue to stay healthy, which he was able to do this season, which was a nice change for him. So, yeah, I'm gonna definitely dig into that a bit before our next episode. Like, look at his projections and see like how likely he is to be a Hall of Famer, because it's weird that he's like a fringe Hall of Famer right now. I mean, if he retired today, he would not be a Hall of Famer. But if he keeps doing what he's doing, like with his like elite defense, putting up like almost 3 or 4 WAR per season, almost on his defense alone, that's wild to me. So, maybe he'll figure it out a bit at the plate. But yeah, he was in talks, or he was mentioned in talks with the Phillies to trade him over there. So I was like looking at the Phillies roster, seeing who might be someone that they're trading for, and the Phillies have their number 2 prospect. He's like a shortstop. He can also play third and second. His name's Bryson Stott. He's pretty good. So I don't think the Rays would acquire him, but they could acquire Alec Boehm. He's like their current third baseman. He had a really good rookie season, and he was pretty not good last season. And he's a right-handed bat that could platoon pretty nicely with Choi. So I think if this lockout ends, that might be someone the Rays go after, and maybe, send KK over to Philly for that.
I would absolutely love to have Bohm on our team.
He was really good in 2020. He had an 881 OPS, but then he had a 647 last year. So it's interesting. I was trying to figure out what happened to him, and there are a couple different things, but basically his hard contact percentage went up over 10% from 2020 to 2021. So like you'd think he would have performed better, but his outside of the zone contact increased from 57% to almost 69%. So he was making a lot of contact outside of the zone, and his in-zone contact dropped about like 7-8%. So he was swinging at things out of the zone, making hard contact, but also like hitting it at people. So it seemed kind of like a Brandon Lau type thing like earlier this season, where for some reason he was just making a lot of weird contact outside of the zone despite not swinging that much more. And it was just he just wasn't getting, any luck on that. His batting average on balls in play stayed about the same. So I think he's really due to improve on his previous season in 2021, and that might make him a pretty good target for the Rays, but we'll see. I think the Rays could fix him and figure it out because they figured out Brandon Lau. So I don't know, but I'd like to have Bohm on the team. He seems like a pretty good hitter. I know that as a prospect, he had a 70 grade hit tool, which is on the scale of 20 to 80 is pretty good. So it'd be cool to have him.
Yeah, I didn't even think about him at all, to be honest with you. When I was here in the Phillies, I didn't know who we would trade for from the Phillies. I was like, we're not getting Bryce Harper, so like, where are we going with this? So when you just mentioned Bohm, I just got excited because, I mean, that could be our first baseman. That would be our first baseman of the future.
Yeah, he's young enough. He's under team control for like 4 or 5 more years, so that could realistically be a name that the Rays go after, but I think they'd have to give up Kiermaier plus maybe something else. But the Phillies need some outfield help, and it would make sense for both teams to do a straight swap, but I think the Rays would have to give up maybe a single A or double A type fringe prospect in addition to KK. But we'll see. The lockout's still in place, so nothing's really going to happen anytime soon.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the lockout, I guess, right now if you don't have any other player trade acquisition news, stuff like that.
Nope, that was it for me.
All right, cool. So I'm assuming you're not happy about the lockout either?
I mean, I expected it and I saw it coming, but I didn't expect a 7-minute meeting.
Yeah, that's ownership just kind of... So just to be clear for everybody listening, it's a lockout, not a strike, because the owners walked away, not the players. So not a strike. The players want to work. The owners do not want to pay them. So that's kind of what it comes down to. I know it's a little bit more complicated than that, but essentially if they would just, split the revenue more evenly, we could probably avoid a long lockout.
Yeah, and the things, some of the small things the players are wanting, it just doesn't make sense why the owners wouldn't just be like, okay, let's do it. Right, and
yeah, no, I agree.
As far as, I know that they want to make it, they want to take, a year off of the eligible to be a free agent, the minimum MLB time. I believe they want to take a year off that, or make it just the age of 29. You become a free agent, or you can be a free agent. And it's just
that's cool.
Little things like that. Why not? No other sport has no other major sport. I don't know much about soccer and stuff, but no other sport has a time frame of when you're allowed to be a free agent and sign somewhere else. Yeah,
there are a lot of contract labor rules that are interesting because I'm thinking about like, a normal, like, I guess not a normal workplace, but a non-sports workplace. Like, your employer can't just tell you, hey, you're not allowed to go work for another company in the same field because I said so. Like, it's kind of like, I know that they sign contracts to like make this stuff valid, and like, it would hold up in court, I guess, but it feels like they're just taking advantage of the players, and they don't really have a choice when signing these contracts, because a lot of the players coming up out of the minors, like, they are like living almost on poverty level wages, and I don't know, it feels very like they're kind of strong arming the players, or they have been for a while, and the revenue is not being shared the way it should be. Player revenue share was around, so like the players got about 60% of the revenue in 2003, but now it's down to under 48% as of 2019. So there's a pretty big discrepancy in who's getting paid and who's actually playing baseball on the field. Like, the owners are not playing baseball. They are collecting their checks. Some of them aren't spending money so that they could stay profitable. Some are spending a ton of money so they can be profitable. And it's just, the players are not getting their fair share. It's not nearly what it should be or what it used to be. And revenue has been steadily increasing since 2003, and it's expected to jump 30%. So from this past season to 2022, with all these new like TV deals and stuff, the revenue is expected to increase almost 30%, and the players are going to get like a fraction of that. And I know it's like, there's a lot of the higher paid players are still going to be millionaires, teams are still going to be wealthy, but the money isn't going to the people who are actually, in the gym 7 days a week, in the batting cages, hours a day. Like, the players are doing the work, and the owners are reaping the benefits of most of it, or they're getting a much larger share than they deserve. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. I mean, look, and I know I'm kind of going back to it, but every other sport, I know they all have a cap space, and if you go over it, like whatever it is, but they all have a cap space for a reason, and I feel like that's the issue. That's one of the major issues, in my opinion. I know it's a hot topic, but I feel like a cap mark or a cap spot would be ideal in this situation. That way, everyone, it's a fair playing field, and we don't have to worry about, having those minor league players that are making, less money than most of us in regular 40-hour-a-week jobs.
No, absolutely. And I think I'd like to see a salary cap as well, mainly because I want to see the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox suffer. Like, that's, my personal reason, because I know they would struggle if there was a salary cap. But with a salary cap, it would be tricky because the revenue share is already so disproportionate between, players and the owners. So they would have to definitely get more, of a cut for the players before they implement a salary cap, because these guys deserve to get paid what teams are willing to pay them. So if a team is willing to pay Max Scherzer $40 million, which is almost like $1 million to start, which is crazy, a salary cap would limit that. So it would, decrease the potential for players to get a huge payday. And I know, does a guy really deserve $40 million a season, not even playing like a full year? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I don't make that much. But I also don't really care that much. Like, I'm not a big money person. I wouldn't get into teaching if I was. But anyways, like, if there was a salary cap, we wouldn't see these guys getting big paydays. So they would have to definitely negotiate some revenue sharing stuff before the salary cap, because it could end up backfiring on players that are trying to get paid. So long-winded way of saying yes to a salary cap, but if they can get their fair share first.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, it would, in my opinion, it'd benefit both the players and the owners if we could get it worked out right, is the issue.
Yeah.
Because if we just do a typical, your typical cap, then it won't allow. It's just going to help out the owners.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the issue is lying now, is the Tampa way is sort of starting to take over a little bit in the league.
Yes.
And you're noticing more and more teams that are paying really low cap totals. And unfortunately, as much as I love Tampa, I think that's not great for the game. But I also don't think it's great for the game to have the Dodgers and the Mets and Boston and New York and the Yankees to have teams go out there and their one player, Max Scherzer, is making almost as much as the whole Tampa Bay MLB lineup. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's pretty insane. But it just made me think of a team like so the Yankees are one of the most profitable teams in baseball, maybe even pro sports. Like, they make so much money, but proportionally, like, and they do spend a lot of money on payroll, but like the proportion is like, I think, less than what the Rays do. So it's like the amount of money the Yankees make. I have to find the exact numbers. I can do that for the next episode, but because I just thought of it now. But the Yankees make X amount of money, but they're only spending a fraction of that on their payroll. So it's like they're one of the teams that's like kind of hurting the players by not putting money back into the team, if that makes sense. Like, they're just kind of they're just like, their own ownership is just raking in cash and then not spending it on the team, and then the team, ends up finishing third or fourth place, and then that's it. Like, the ownership is fine with that because they're making a ton of money, but the Yankees are one of the top spenders, but they realistically could be spending a lot more than they do. So I think there needs to be some kind of, like, not a salary floor, but like a proportion type thing. Like, teams should be required to spend like X amount of percentage of their revenue on payroll. I think that would be a good step in the right direction, but it's they're pretty like far from because, like, each team is going to make a certain amount of money, and they could spend however much they want, but they should be required to put money back into the team because teams can tank. Like, if you're the worst team and you spend like as little money as possible, you're going to make a ton of money because you're not putting money back into the team. But then if you're the best team and you're putting a ton of money back into it, and then you end up like winning the World Series, then you make money that way too. So it's like you're only profitable if you're really good or really bad. And the teams that are middling, like the Yankees, whatever, kind of the Rays, but they make money because they keep going to the postseason. But I don't know. It's just they need some kind of system that currently is not in place that is going to take, weeks of negotiating to get into place. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but it's frustrating.
But even if people consider it rambling, hey, you're still listening, so it's working.
Yeah.
But
Jokes
no, it's yeah, right. I think that you just fixed all of baseball right there. Like, the idea of, it's team based as far as like, we're not going to put a cap on it, but we're going to put a floor. Let's make it to where you have to spend, and I'm just going to throw out a number. I don't know money like that, but let's say 40% of your revenue you have to spend on players or on the team as far as people on the team.
Right.
Yes,
I think
Yankees,
that would be a solution.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense because, the Yankees are still going to be able to spend way more than the Rays. But I think that would bump up the Rays' roster filling, how much they pay people. The Rays would probably get bigger name players if that were the case. Teams like the Orioles, I mean, no one wants to play for the Orioles, but
not yet.
Think that would help. Yeah, not yet. Exactly. I could. It could happen,
they're on the
though.
come up. Yeah. There's so much that goes into it, and like, we're not gonna fix the negotiations or the labor issues or whatever, but it is a lockout. The owners are not, agreeing to the terms that the players want. The players are the ones who do the work. They're, constantly battling and grinding for these spots on rosters, and the owners are like, yeah, we want more money. So it's kind of, I don't know. Or the owners are like, yeah, we don't want the players to have more money than what they currently get, which is, looking at the other major sports leagues in the U.S. and even the world, like, baseball players are a little bit underpaid. I know it's hard to say that with, like, Max Scherzer's contract, even Corey Kluber, like, making $8 million this season, like, guaranteed. Like, that's a lot of money for, like, the normal everyday person, but compared to what the owners make, it's pennies.
It's nothing. Exactly. Yeah. So now I'm gonna ask you a question that's on topic with the lockout, but not necessarily with like a cap space.
Okay.
So the players wanting a younger age and less MLB service time to become free agents, do you think that they're wanting that to kind of fix the ability of teams to hold them in the minors to keep them a bit longer?
Yeah, I think that I don't know too much about like what the players are asking for. I haven't dug into that much. I've been looking at like, should the players be getting paid more, like revenue splits, all that stuff. But I think so, because I think that would be fair to, limit the number of years before they can become a free agent, because, when a guy is in his prime at like 28, 29, 30 years old, like that's when he can go out and get, his biggest paycheck if he chooses to do that. So yeah, I think it would, help teams move guys a little bit quicker through the minors as well. And then, I mean, because every team is doing service time manipulation. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But if there was a shorter time frame, like it would limit that, and then guys could get paid, more, and they could get paid sooner. Yeah, I think that seems like a pretty good idea. I don't know a whole lot about it, but just based on like initial reaction, it seems good. So what about you?
Yeah, so I feel the same way, and I know most about Tampa, obviously, as far as like keeping players in the minors. Like, it seems like Wander's been in our system forever. Like, he should have been playing forever ago. I know he's only 20, so not him in particular, but people like, Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, people that everyone knows who they are, and it's kind of like, it would be nice to see them in the majors, whether it's with us or not. So the idea of less time for them to be in the minors because we can't really control what they are able to do like as much, I think it would be good for the game and the players.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Because like you want the best players, you want the big names, you want them playing, you want them on your roster. So I think that would help incentivize teams to move guys at an appropriate pace through the minors, and then, trade away other guys so they can open up roster spots. And then like if you get traded away, like Joey Wendell got traded away essentially, so Brujan and Walls can play more. But now Wendell can also play more because he's going to a team that, needs a guy who can play every day. So I think it's good for everybody except for the owners if that happens. So if something's bad for the owners but good for the players, I'm usually in favor of it. So I think that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, so we're on the same page.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I guess we kind of covered the lockout there. It seems like we hit just about everything. Anything else before we move on to a Wander Franco player review?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything to the best of our ability right now. Maybe at a later date we can come back in with some more information.
Yeah. So Wander Franco, anyways. Did he have a good season? Did he have a great season? What's your opinion on that?
He had a wonderful season.
Nice.
I had to get that in there. No, yeah, he had one of the best rookie seasons I can think of, as far as since I've been around to watch. And it was only 70 games. So he hasn't even really had a full season. But when you have a guy like Kevin Cash, after 70 games saying, and I quote, "I think you can make the argument that he's the most impactful player on any team in baseball," I think you did something right.
Yeah, he had a really impressive season, and we saw him grow a lot. Like, he had a 127 weighted runs created plus this season, so in his rookie season in 70 games, he was 27% better than the average hitter in baseball, and that's with the ups and downs that he went through. So I'm very impressed with what he did. It was pretty cool to see that, and it happened so quickly too. He really grew so fast.
That's the thing, is it was all so fast. Like, I mean, he came out and 70 games, he got on base 43 straight of those 70 games. Like,
yeah.
That is, only struck out 37 times over 308 plate appearances. I mean,
and
I just don't know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know what else you could ask for in a young kid.
I actually have a couple things that I think he could improve on. I was trying to be nitpicky, so it's like a little, yeah. But no, he does have room to improve for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his strikeout percentage month to month from June all the way through September and October. September and October, I'm combining the strikeout percentage there. So his debut month in June, he had a 16.7 strikeout percentage. Then in July, it went up to 21.7%. August was 7.3%, so he started to, improve. And then in September and October combined, he had a 4.3% strikeout percentage. So he got better as the season went on. And as he kind of got a little bit more disciplined and made better contact, his weighted runs created plus went up. So again, in June, he had an 88 weighted runs created plus, so he's 22% below league average. Then he went up to 99 weighted runs created plus in July, and then a 145 in August. So he really stepped it up. And then September and October, 157 weighted runs created plus. So it's so crazy to see a player improve that quickly in such a short amount of time. We have never seen that before since Mike Trout in his rookie season, really. So it's really impressive. OPS, if you look at that, it does the same thing. It just constantly goes up. And if we get a full season of Wander Franco playing at a 157 weighted runs created plus and a 924 OPS like he had in September and October, that's an MVP season, easily.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you completely.
Something that's interesting is Mike Trout has a career 1,002 OPS for his career. So Wander Franco was really, really good in September and October with that 924 OPS, but Mike Trout for his career has been better, and that just kind of shows Mike Trout is probably the best player in the game, but Wander Franco is getting there. He's moving in that direction, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, I wish, not to get off topic, but I wish Trout played on a different team.
Yeah, he deserves to be in the playoffs a bit more than he has been. So.
But to get back to Wander, so what are your things? Obviously, we know what he does really good. He sees the ball well. He's an above average fielder, maybe average.
Yeah, he's definitely improving there.
So what are your things that you would like to see him improve on?
I'd want to see him be more selective at the plate and just chill out on defense a little bit. I'll start with the defense stuff because that's a little bit less numbers based and it's more anecdotal, I guess. But he has really, really good range, and he has a strong arm. He's just an incredible athlete, so it's he can get to pretty much anything that's hit. In his direction, he's going to be able to get to the ball and have a chance to make a play on it, but it doesn't mean that he should always try to make a play on it. He's going to make some really impressive plays. I remember he did in the playoffs, there was this one, nice turn he had on a double play or whatever, but just because he can get to everything doesn't mean he should try to make a play on it, and that's going to come with maturity. Sometimes you just got to, put the ball in your pocket, not try to make a throw where you're running, falling down away from the direction you want to throw it. Just hold on to the ball, let him take the infield single. Don't turn it into a double or a triple because you make a bad throw. So I think as he gets experience, he's going to become a better fielder because he's an incredible athlete and he's got a strong arm. Like I said, he's got great range. He just needs to know when to, not try to make the like an insane play. Just chill out on defense. So that's one of the things he can do, and that's going to improve as he gets more experience. But he needs to be more selective at the plate, too, in order to maximize his offensive output. So the rolling 10-game average on his hard contact percentage, so that's taking the hard contact percentage for every 10-game span and averaging it out, it dropped near the end of the season to roughly 20% when he was averaging 28% on the season. So as his OPS was peaking and he was having his best performance, his hard contact percentage dropped to a season low. And his outside of the zone swing percentage climbed to almost 40% after sitting around 33%. So he was making weaker contact and swinging at pitches outside of the zone, but he was still having a really good offensive production in terms of his OPS, his weighted runs created, he was driving in runs, whatever, because his batting average on balls in play somehow stayed above 310 during that September and October combination there. So he was kind of getting lucky at the end of the season, which is cool because like he's really good, so he was able to get lucky, but he just needs to kind of chill out because that kind of production isn't sustainable with the way he was swinging the bat. So he needs to be more selective, and he can afford to make weak contact sometimes because his speed helps it play up. Like he can beat out infield singles, he can turn singles into doubles, doubles into triples, whatever. So he can take advantage of the weak contact, but he has probably the best hand-eye coordination and the best bat-to-ball skills and the best bat speed that anybody has really ever seen. Like it's comparable to Mike Trout. So he's going to be fine. He just needs to, focus on, just being more selective at the plate heading into 2022. And it's really similar to his defense. Like just because he can swing and make contact with any pitch, basically within a foot of the zone, because he might not be human, it doesn't mean that he should do it. So he just needs to, let the balls go, like take your walks, whatever. And if he's able to take his walks a bit more, he's going to, be able to be more selective and really start driving things that are out over the plate and not just, slapping a ball out of the zone for like a single the other way. Like I'd rather him pull the ball, hit a double or a triple than hit, a weak single the other way. So just be more selective and don't try to make every play on defense. Those are my two critiques of Wander Franco.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it right on the head because I know last week we missed you on we did a little bit like a mini review when we talked about his contract last week, but that was his fielding was the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Not that he's bad, he could definitely be better. That was the one like I don't even want to say questionable spot in his game because it's not really questionable. He's an average defender at worst.
Yeah.
But if he could, be up there in the runnings for a Golden Glove, then I think that I think he has the ability to do that if he could just work on calming down and, like you said, not having to make every play.
Yeah, I mean, like he's honestly too good of a defender, and that's what's hurting him because like normal people can't get to the balls that he's getting to. And I think it's just like he's like, oh, I can make this play. I just got to the ball. Like, no, not really. Like physically, there are limitations, but he's too good for like his own good. So I think he'll learn to just manage that more. And he realistically could be like a Gold Glove candidate every season if he just like chills out a little bit and doesn't try to do too much. So, but yeah, he's a really special player, worth every penny of that contract. And probably even more, but he'll have a chance to get a big payday because he'll be in his prime when that contract is up. So I think that I think you guys said it last time, but it was a pretty fair deal for both sides.
Yeah, that was we did instead of a deep dive like we're doing today, kind of on Wander. That was you listened to it, so I don't need to like explain it to you. But yeah, that was it was more of a just we both agreed that it was kind of a win-win for both sides. Wander could have gotten more money, but I think he's happy where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, he said he wants to be a Ray for life, and I know sometimes players just say those things, but I'm going to take that at face value because I want him to be a Ray for life, so I will become emotionally attached, and I will take everything he does personally. So if it hurts me, but I'm ready to get hurt again. I know Longoria's gone. I've moved on.
I'm ready to love again.
I'm ready to get hurt. I'm ready. If it hurts me, he hurts me. But I'm gonna enjoy his time here because I'm not gonna let the fear of him leaving hold me back from being a fan. So, extend Brandon Lau a little bit more, and I'll be even happier.
Yeah. Oh, see, I said Glass now.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, Glass now. Lau.
That was who I said, but yeah, Lau. I would like to see him extended as well. Could you imagine, dude, if we could have just Lau, Glass now, and Franco tied up for at least just say 4 more years for the other two.
Yeah, they could realistically
years.
Do it. It's kind of like what the Lightning did. I know they're operating in a salary cap, so it's a bit different. But like, if you get like that core, that like group, that cohort of guys that like want to stick around and want to play together, like that's gonna be really special. Like they're gonna be able to keep that consistency and have these really, really good players for a long time. So if they just keep winning, it'll make the players want to stay. They might take like a little bit less money. It'll attract some some of the older big names that want to get a ring, like they'll come to Tampa because they want to be on a winning team. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you keep winning, you're going to keep having success, and if you keep having success, you're going to keep winning. It's cyclical, so I like it.
Yeah, and we're going to start looking like the Tampa Bay Bucks. We just get all these old players that are still good, but just at the end of their career, they're going to want to come play with the Wander kid and Tyler Glass now, and I could see it. It's going to happen.
I would want to play for Kevin Cash. Like Kevin Cash would be a draw. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Didn't even think about that. We have one of the best manager in all of baseball.
I think he's the best active manager. I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair.
He's the only one that's won the award 2 times in a row. So.
Yeah. All right. So any other news, notes, anything like that? I know we covered trades, acquisitions, lockout stuff, Wander Franco.
Oh, you know what we didn't really cover, and I know the show's running a little long, but we do it for you guys. Renfroe leaving Tampa. Leaving Boston, sorry. Renfroe leaving Boston.
Yeah. It's a good move for the Rays.
That is the single best move of the whole offseason for the Rays, in my opinion, so far.
It was kind of good for the Red Sox, too, because they sold high on Renfroe. Like, he's probably... I mean, he had an above-average season, but that's because of his numbers against the Rays. Like, if you take his, 18, 19 games away that he played against Tampa, where he had an OPS over 1,000, he was a pretty average hitter. So it's good that he's out of the division because he was going to continue to haunt the Rays because he's a little petty, but that's fine. But Jackie Bradley Jr. is back with Boston now, and he can't hit. He couldn't hit a beach ball against the Rays, so I'm happy that he's back. His defense is good, not as good as Kevin Kiermaier's, but he's not a good hitter. So the Red Sox improved defensively and definitely lost a bit offensively. So. I'm happy with that move.
Yeah, and we only got to play Renfroe twice next year, so
that's good. Yeah,
I'm not upset with that at all.
I mean, they could have just pitched around him more than they did, but it's fine. I guess I'm fine with him taking out his anger on us a little bit.
He was one of the players I wish we would have kept around. I liked him. I can't lie.
Yeah. I mean, if there was a spot for him to play every day, I think he would have, had that kind of production in Tampa, but he did not want a platoon. Like, he made that pretty clear, and his performance reflected that. So, not everybody's going to be comfortable with platooning, but maybe when he gets older and he wants to get a ring, he'll put that to the side and maybe come back for a year. Who knows?
He'll be back. They always come back.
Yeah. But I think that's just about it. I saw a video of Wander Franco and Vlad Guerrero Jr. working out together, which is kind of cool, but I guess they're friends, so... But that's about it. Nothing exciting other than what we already talked about.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the real exciting stuff is going to be on hold for a little while with the holdout.
Yeah, that's true. And I know there were other signings around the league, but we could probably talk about those a bit in our next show, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's probably a pretty good topic. Sorry, guys.
You're good. So, thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget to follow us on social media, all of your places we're at. RBLR Sports, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything. If you like our podcast, which if you're listening right now, you're still listening, you probably do. So you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, we're on YouTube. Pretty much everywhere. I know I forgot to post our episode from last week on Reddit, so I'll probably do both, put those on the Tampa Bay Rays subreddit, this one today and then the one from last week. So any final thoughts here, Zach, as we're closing off?
I think you covered it on. I say it every week, but we appreciate you guys listening and taking up, 45 minutes to an hour of your day to listen to us. It means a lot to us, and we enjoy doing it. So we got a whole bunch more coming for you guys, so go Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.